The Starfire glided silently through the void, approaching Zetheria's capital planet. The city below was vast and dazzling, a maze of towering spires, glowing highways, and energy fields that shimmered under the light of a distant sun. From orbit, it looked like a jewel in the galaxy, but Eli knew that beauty often hid danger. "Stay alert," he said, his eyes scanning the radar. "We're entering enemy territory. They'll recognize the ship and attack if we're not careful." Lyria nodded, her expression serious. "I've spent my life preparing for this. The capital holds many secrets, and some of them are guarded by those who once served my family, but now serve others." The Starfire descended toward a hidden maintenance zone, a place known only to a few trusted Zetherians. Eli guided the ship with precision, avoiding patrols and defense systems. The city stretched below them, its energy grids pulsating like veins of light, a living organism of technology and civilization. Once on the surface, they moved quickly through back corridors and service tunnels, their presence undetected. Lyria led the way, her knowledge of the city's secret paths unmatched. Eli followed closely, blaster ready, heart steady but mind alert. "The artifact is stored in the royal vault beneath the central palace," Lyria explained in a low voice. "It's protected by multiple layers of technology, guards, and traps. We must be careful," Eli grunted. "Careful, yes. But you do realize we're walking into the lion's den, right?" Lyria smiled faintly. "I've been inside the lion's den my whole life. Today, it's time we take back what is rightfully mine." They navigated through the labyrinth of corridors, avoiding security cameras and patrols with Lyria's guidance. Finally, they reached the vault's entrance, a massive door covered in intricate alien symbols that pulsed with energy. Lyria approached the controls and began decrypting the security system. Eli stood guard, scanning for any sign of approaching enemies. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the corridor. "Going somewhere, Lyria?" Eli spun, blaster raised. A group of elite Zetherian guards appeared, led by none other than Veyron, the traitorous ally from Eclipse Hub. "I should have known you couldn't resist the artifact," Veyron sneered. "And this human thinks he can stop me?" Eli tightened his grip on the blaster. "You underestimated us, Veyron." "Big mistake." Lyria stepped forward, her hands glowing faintly as she activated a defensive energy shield. "You betrayed my trust, Veyron, but your time ends now." The corridor erupted into chaos. Blaster fire illuminated the walls as Eli and Veyron's guards clashed. Eli moved with expert precision, dodging attacks and returning fire, while Lyria manipulated energy fields to create barriers and disable the enemy's weapons. Despite the overwhelming numbers, Eli and Lyria worked seamlessly together. Eli's skill as a pilot translated into precise combat maneuvers, while Lyria's knowledge of Zetherian technology gave them an advantage no ordinary fighter could match. Veyron advanced toward Lyria, blaster raised. "Step aside, or die." "You forget," Lyria said, her voice steady. "I have learned from the best, and I am not afraid of you." With a swift motion, she activated a hidden energy trap in the floor. Veyron stumbled, giving Eli the opening to fire a precise shot that disarmed him. The remaining guards, seeing their leader defeated, faltered and retreated. Breathing heavily, Lyria approached the vault. "We need to open it before more forces arrive." Eli assisted, analyzing the security interface. The vault's encryption was complex, layered with Zetherian technology that even he had never seen. But working together, human and alien, they slowly unlocked the layers. Lights flickered, energy fields shifted, and finally the massive doors slid open. Inside, the artifact hovered on a pedestal, glowing with an intense, pulsing energy. It was smaller than Eli expected, yet he could feel its power radiating through the room. Lyria stepped forward, reverence in her eyes. "This is it," she whispered. "The key to protecting my people and the galaxy." As Lyria reached for the artifact, alarms blared. More enemy forces were converging on the palace. Eli glanced at her. "We can't stay here long. Take it and let's move." Lyria's fingers brushed the artifact and a surge of energy pulsed through the room. Lights danced and the walls hummed as the artifact responded to her presence. Eli watched, awe mixed with concern. "Careful. We don't know what it can do." She nodded. "I feel its power. I can control it, but only if I focus. We must leave now." The Starfire awaited in the maintenance tunnel, engines humming. Eli and Lyria moved quickly, Artifact secured, navigating back through the secret corridors. Enemy forces were closing in, but Lyria used the artifact's power to manipulate energy fields, creating barriers and disabling traps that blocked their path. Finally, they reached the Starfire. Eli piloted with unmatched precision, weaving through the city and avoiding patrols as Lyria guided the ship using the artifact's energy signature. The attackers followed, relentless, but Eli's skills and Lyria's control over the artifact kept them ahead. As they broke through the city's atmosphere, the artifact's energy pulsed in response to Zytheria's orbit. Lyria explained, "It reacts to the planetary energy. It can protect the city if we harness it correctly, but only briefly." Eli's hands flew across the controls. "Then let's make it count." Using the artifact, Lyria amplified the Starfire's energy shields, allowing them to pass through enemy ships unscathed. The attackers were forced to retreat, unable to penetrate the combined power of human skill and Zytherian technology. Once clear of immediate danger, Eli set a course for a safe zone, and Lyria finally allowed herself a moment of relief. "We did it," she whispered. "The artifact is safe. For now." Eli smiled, though fatigue showed in his eyes. "Yeah, but this isn't the end. Someone else may try to take it, and we'll have to be ready." Lyria nodded, looking out at the galaxy stretching endlessly before them. "I know, but together, we can face anything." For the first time in a long while, both felt hope. They had reclaimed the artifact, survived betrayal, and faced overwhelming odds. Their bond had grown stronger, built on trust, courage, and shared experience. Eli had proven that humans, despite their small place in the galaxy, could stand alongside an alien empire and make a difference. As the Starfire drifted through the stars, the artifact safely secured, Eli and Lyria began to plan their next steps. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and opportunities, and while the immediate threat had passed, they knew their journey was far from over. "Zytheria will be safe," Lyria said softly, her hand resting on the artifact. "And together we will protect it. No matter what comes next." Eli nodded, his gaze steady. "Then let's make sure the galaxy knows that courage, intelligence, and trust can change everything." Above them, stars twinkled like distant promises, endless and eternal. And for the first time, Eli and Lyria allowed themselves to believe that their journey, their fight, and their bond had the power to change the fate of the galaxy itself. The Starfire drifted gently above Zytheria's capital, the artifact secured safely within a reinforced containment field. The city below was alive with light, energy, and movement, but the shadow of past threats still lingered. Eli, Roderick, and Lyria stood side by side on the observation deck, watching the planet they had fought so hard to protect. "It's beautiful," Eli said softly. "All this, and we helped save it." Lyria's eyes shimmered as she gazed at her home. "Yes, but beauty alone is not enough. Our people need stability, hope, and leadership. That is what I must provide now." Eli nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "And I'll be here to help, wherever you need me." Their return to the capital was quiet but tense. Word of the artifact's recovery and Veyron's betrayal had spread quickly. Citizens and officials alike watched the skies, wondering who would claim victory. Lyria's first steps on the city streets were met with cautious eyes and curious whispers. She walked with her head high, her presence commanding respect and inspiring hope. The first council meeting was held in the central palace, its halls filled with representatives from across the empire. Lyria took her seat, flanked by Eli and a few trusted allies who had proven their loyalty during the journey. "This council convenes to ensure the future of Zytheria," Lyria began, her voice steady and clear. "We have survived betrayal, threats, and attacks, but we endure. Together we will restore stability, safeguard our people, and ensure that justice prevails." Applause filled the chamber, though some faces were wary. Eli watched closely. Politics had never been his strength, but he saw the impact of Lyria's courage and conviction. Her words were not just statements, they were a call to action, a promise to her people. After the council, Lyria led Eli to the artifact's containment chamber. Its energy pulsed softly, a reminder of the power they now held and the responsibility it demanded. "This is more than a weapon," Lyria explained. "It is a symbol of hope. My people will look to it as a sign that courage, unity, and intelligence can protect even the most fragile worlds." Eli studied it, impressed despite the countless artifacts he had seen across the galaxy. "It's incredible, but dangerous too," How will you make sure it's never misused? She smiled faintly. I will lead wisely. And I will surround myself with those who are honorable, brave, and loyal. Trust must be earned, but I have learned who I can rely on. In the days that followed, Lyria worked tirelessly. She met with advisors, rebuilt alliances, and ensured that the city's defenses were secure. Elias. The Starfire rested quietly on the surface of the uncharted planet, surrounded by towering alien trees that glowed faintly in the soft light of the twin suns. Inside the abandoned Zetherian outpost, Eli, Roderick, and Lyria moved carefully, their steps echoing through halls that had not felt human or Zetherian footsteps in decades. Lyria's eyes glimmered with curiosity and urgency. This place holds more than just shelter, she said. It holds knowledge. Knowledge that could decide the fate of my people. Eli nodded, adjusting the tools at his side. He had spent his life flying ships, navigating dangers, and fixing engines. But walking through the history of an entire civilization was new. Show me, he said. I want to understand what we're protecting. Lyria led him to a hidden chamber deep within the outpost. A heavy door slid open, revealing walls covered in holographic projections, star charts, and alien scripts. The room was alive with data that pulsed softly, almost as if the technology had a heartbeat of its own. This is the Zytherian Archive, Lyria explained. It contains the history of my people, records of our technology, and secrets some believed were lost forever. Among these secrets is an artifact, an ancient device of immense power. It has been hidden for generations to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. Eli's brow furrowed. Powerful how? She hesitated. It can manipulate energy on a scale large enough to destroy entire fleets or protect entire worlds. In the wrong hands, it could end civilizations. In the right hands, it could save them. Eli studied the holographic displays, running simulations in his mind. And someone wants it? Yes, Lyria said quietly, her gaze firm. Several factions. Some want to control Zetheria, some want revenge. If they find it first, we may never recover from the consequences. Eli ran a hand through his hair, realizing the magnitude of their mission. So we're not just running anymore. We're hunters and protectors, Lyria nodded. Exactly. And we need allies, but we must be careful whom we trust. Many who appear loyal may not be. The days that followed were a mixture of preparation and exploration. Eli repaired the Starfire using the Zetherian tools, incorporating enhancements that improved its speed, stealth, and defense. Meanwhile, Lyria sifted through the archives, piecing together the artifact's location and uncovering the history of betrayals that had shaped her world. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, the air inside the outpost hummed with energy. Lyria approached Eli, holding a glowing holographic star map. The artifact is real, she said, her voice low but steady. And it's hidden on Zetheria's capital planet. But getting there won't be easy. The path is guarded by hostile forces, and enemy ships patrol the surrounding space. Eli studied the map, tracing potential routes with his finger. We'll need to be smart. One mistake and we won't just fail, we'll die. Lyria's eyes met his. I trust you, Eli. That is why I'm telling you this. Together we have a chance to succeed where others have failed. The next morning, as they prepared to leave the planet, the Starfire's sensors detected movement beyond the forested perimeter. Eli froze. We've got company, and it's not friendly. Lyria moved to his side, her hand resting lightly on the console. We expected this. They've been tracking us. We must move quickly. Outside, a group of fast, sleek ships emerged from the shadow of a nearby asteroid belt. Eli's heart raced, but his hands were steady. Hang on, he muttered. The Starfire's engines roared, lifting them into the sky. Blaster fire streaked past, narrowly missing the hull as Eli performed sharp twists and turns, dodging attacks with precision. Lyria guided him, calling out angles and vectors. Left, they're trying to flank us. Adjust trajectory. Eli obeyed, weaving the Starfire through the asteroid field. One of the attacking ships collided with a rock, exploding in a bright flash. But there were more behind it, relentless in their pursuit. We can't outrun them forever, Eli said, sweat forming on his brow. We don't have to, Lyria replied calmly. We have options they don't. Follow me. Using her knowledge of Zetherian technology, Lyria activated a hidden interface on the Starfire, releasing a pulse that temporarily scrambled the attacker's sensors. The enemy ships faltered, giving Eli the opening they needed. With a burst of speed, the Starfire slipped past their pursuers, disappearing into the uncharted regions of space. After the chase, the two landed on a small, remote moon. Lyria's expression was serious but determined. "We need to plan carefully," she said. "The artifact is our only hope to protect Zytheria, but the enemy will stop at nothing to get it. We must be ready for anything." Eli looked at her, admiration in his eyes. "You're fearless. Most people would panic, hide, or surrender. You fight, you plan, and you face danger head-on." Lyria smiled faintly. "I have no choice. My people's future depends on it, and now, our future depends on it too." For the next few days they explored the moon, uncovering hidden facilities once used by Zytherian scientists. Lyria's knowledge of her people's technology proved invaluable. She activated old systems, decrypted secure files, and pieced together clues about the artifact's exact location. As they worked, Eli found himself learning from her. Not just about strategy, but about courage, resilience, and the strength it took to face overwhelming odds. He realized that being human didn't mean he was powerless. Together, they could accomplish extraordinary feats. One night, under the pale light of the moon, Eli and Lyria stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking a vast alien landscape. The wind carried a faint hum of energy, and distant storms painted the sky with shimmering lights. "Do you ever wonder," Eli asked quietly, "if we're too small to make a difference? If the galaxy is too big for people like us?" Lyria turned to him, her eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "No, one life can change everything. One choice can shape history. We are small, yes, but our actions matter. And together, we are stronger than we realize." Eli nodded, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known before. Protecting Lyria, discovering the secrets of Zytheria, and facing the dangers ahead. It was terrifying, but it was also thrilling. He was no longer just a pilot. He was a protector, a partner, and a witness to history in motion. The next morning they resumed their journey. The Starfire glided through the dark expanse of space, heading towards Zytheria's capital. Enemy forces still lurked, and the artifact's secret power was a shadow waiting to be revealed. But Eli and Lyria were ready. They had learned to trust each other, to combine their skills, and to face danger as one. As the stars stretched endlessly ahead, Eli glanced at Lyria. "Whatever happens," he said, "we face it together." She smiled, her gaze steady. "Together. Always." And so, with courage in their hearts and determination guiding their path, they moved forward, toward discovery, toward danger, and toward a destiny that neither could have predicted. The secrets of Zytheria awaited, and the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath, watching as two unlikely heroes embarked on a journey that would change everything. The Starfire glided silently through the star-strewn void, approaching Eclipse Hub, a neutral space station known for trade and diplomacy. Eli Roderick's hands were steady on the controls, but his mind remained alert. This station was crowded, a haven for travelers of every species, and a perfect place for betrayal to hide in plain sight. Lyria stood beside him, scanning her datapad. "If we can meet with one of my family's allies here, we might gain support for our mission. We need their knowledge and resources to reach Zytheria safely." Eli frowned. "Family allies don't always mean friends. How do you know we can trust them?" She looked at him, her gaze firm. "I trust them, mostly. But even the closest ally can be tempted. We must remain cautious." Docking at the station, the two disembarked into the bustling corridors of Eclipse Hub. Traders from across the galaxy shouted prices, merchants displayed glowing goods, and travelers hurried past. Eli's instincts tingled. Somewhere in the crowd, danger waited. Their meeting was arranged in a secure chamber high above the main docking bay. Lyria's ally, Varen, a tall, lean Zytherian with silver hair, greeted them with a smile that seemed too practiced. "Lyria, it has been too long," Varen said smoothly. "And you've brought a human protector. Interesting." Eli nodded politely but remained cautious. Something about Varen didn't feel right. He had met enough people in his life to recognize the subtle signs of deception. They discussed their mission. Lyria explained the artifact, the threats against her, and their plan to reclaim it before it fell into enemy hands. Varen listened intently, nodding, offering advice and suggestions. Eli stayed alert, scanning the chamber for any unusual activity. After several hours, the meeting concluded. As they left, Eli noticed Veyron's eyes linger on Lyria, with an intensity that seemed out of place. He shrugged it off, perhaps paranoia, but a nagging feeling remained. Later, aboard the Starfire, Lyria reviewed the data they had collected. Eli sat beside her, watching the stars outside the viewport. "Something doesn't feel right about Veyron," Eli said cautiously. "He seemed too eager to help." Lyria frowned, tapping her datapad. "I have had the same feeling. But we need his resources. We cannot afford to make enemies of those who can assist us. Yet we must be vigilant." Their caution was justified. As they prepared to leave the station, alarms blared across the Starfire. Eli's eyes snapped to the sensors. Multiple vessels marked with Veyron's insignia were. The Starfire hummed through the silent darkness of space, leaving behind the chaos of Aurora Prime. Captain Eli Roderick's hands were steady on the controls, yet his mind was alert, scanning every blip on the radar. He had flown through pirate ambushes, asteroid fields, and unpredictable warp currents, but escorting an alien heiress through hostile space was something else entirely. Lyria sat beside him, her posture calm, but her eyes sharp and observant. She had spent her life preparing for moments like this: diplomacy, strategy, survival, but nothing could replace the feeling of being hunted across the galaxy. "We need a safe route," Eli said, breaking the silence. "These attackers won't give up easily, and others will join them if they know you're here." Lyria leaned over, examining the star charts on his holographic display. "There's a system nearby," she said, pointing to a cluster of planets that humans rarely traveled. "It's uncharted and largely ignored by the galaxy's factions. We can hide there for a while and plan our next move." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Uncharted? That usually means trouble," she smiled faintly. "It also means safety. For now." With her guidance, Eli set a new course. The Starfire accelerated, slipping into the empty stretches of uncharted space. Yet even in these silent regions, danger lurked. Long-range sensors picked up strange signals, energy readings inconsistent with natural phenomena. Eli frowned. "That's odd. Could be pirates or worse. Stay alert." Hours passed. They exchanged stories to pass the time. The hum of the engines a constant companion. Eli shared tales of narrow escapes from asteroid storms, skirmishes with space raiders, and the loneliness of life in deep space. Lyria, in turn, spoke of Zetheria, her homeworld, and the responsibilities that weighed on her young shoulders. She described the delicate balance of politics, the wisdom of her ancestors, and the secrets of an empire that many had tried to destroy. Eli listened intently, realizing that this was more than a rescue mission. He was witnessing the life of someone whose choices could shape entire civilizations. And in that thought, a sense of purpose grew inside him. Protecting Lyria wasn't just survival, it was history in motion. Suddenly, the Starfire's alarm blared again. Eli's eyes snapped to the radar. "We've got company," he muttered. 3 sleek ships were closing in fast, their designs unfamiliar and clearly hostile. Lyria leaned forward. "I can help. I know some of their tactics. We need to act quickly." Eli nodded. "Do it." Working together, human and alien, they coordinated their moves. Eli twisted the ship sharply, dodging incoming energy blasts while Lyria analyzed the attackers' patterns, calling out openings and weak points. "Right side? They're exposing the thrusters!" she shouted. Eli fired, precise and controlled. One of the ships spun out of control, its engines flickering before it was destroyed. The remaining vessels pressed on, relentless. The chase led them through a dense asteroid field, the massive rocks spinning and tumbling like silent sentinels. "This is risky," Eli shouted. "One wrong move and we're dead." "Trust me," Lyria said calmly. "I've studied these ships' weaknesses. We can outmaneuver them." With her guidance, Eli used the asteroid field to their advantage, weaving between massive rocks and forcing the attackers into dangerous collisions. A bright streak of light illuminated the darkness as one ship clipped an asteroid and exploded. The last attacker faltered, giving them a chance to escape. Breathing heavily, Eli allowed himself a brief smile. "Not bad," he said, glancing at Lyria. "You're better at this than I thought." Lyria smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the stars outside. "Experience teaches you quickly, and when your life depends on it, every moment counts." After the chase, the Starfire reached the uncharted system. The planets were strange and beautiful, with colors unseen in most star charts. emerald clouds, golden oceans, and mountains that glowed faintly in the starlight. Eli guided the ship into orbit around a small deserted planet, the sensors confirming no signs of life or danger. "This will be our temporary base," Lyria said, her voice soft but firm. "We need to rest, repair the ship, and plan our next steps." Eli nodded. "Agreed, but stay alert. Someone will come looking for you." "Always." As the Starfire descended to the planet's surface, they discovered an old Zetherian research outpost, long abandoned, but still intact. The buildings were covered in alien vines and the air was thin but breathable. Lyria's eyes lit up. "This is perfect. Hidden, secure, and close to valuable data my people left behind." Inside, the outpost was a treasure trove of Zetherian technology, holographic archives, star maps, and equipment far advanced beyond human design. Lyria moved through the halls with familiarity, touching consoles and activating old systems. "These archives may hold the key to understanding the threats we face and how to stop them," she explained. Eli watched her work, impressed. "You're not just royalty. You're a fighter, a thinker, and dangerous if crossed," she chuckled softly. "And you're not just a pilot. You're brave, stubborn, and surprisingly intelligent. We make a good team." As they explored the outpost, they uncovered a hidden chamber containing information about a mysterious Zetherian artifact, a device of immense power, long thought lost. Lyria's eyes widened. If this artifact falls into the wrong hands, it could destroy entire systems. "We must find it before our enemies do." Eli studied the holographic display, his mind racing. "Then we're not just running. We're on a mission, a dangerous one." "Yes," Lyria said firmly. "But if we succeed, we can protect countless lives. Not just Zetherians. Everyone." The hours turned into days. Eli repaired the Starfire using the advanced tools from the outpost, while Lyria sifted through data, strategizing their next moves. Their bond grew stronger. Not romantic, not yet, but built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. Each day brought new challenges, but together, they were unstoppable. One evening, as the twin suns of the planet set, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold, Lyria stood by the observation deck, gazing at the horizon. Eli joined her, leaning on the railing. "Do you ever wonder," he asked quietly, "what it would be like if life were simpler? No enemies, no politics, no battles." Lyria smiled faintly, her gaze still fixed on the horizon. "I used to dream of that. But simplicity has a cost. Courage, action, and sacrifice, these define who we are. We cannot escape them," Eli nodded. "Guess we're stuck with the dangerous kind of adventure, then." "Yes," Lyria replied softly. "But at least we face it together." And together they watched the stars rise above the alien world, ready to face the dangers that awaited. Unknown enemies still hunted them. Mysterious forces were at play, and the artifact's secret power loomed like a shadow over the galaxy. But Captain Eli Roderick and Lyria, the alien heiress, had become more than allies. They had become partners in a journey that would test their courage, their minds, and their hearts in ways they could not yet imagine. The galaxy stretched before them, vast and filled with unknowns. And for the first time, both of them felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps together they could survive. Perhaps together they could change everything. Aurora Prime's spaceport was alive with activity. Ships of every size and design buzzed like metal bees among the docking bays, while travelers from hundreds of worlds moved quickly, carrying goods, messages, and dreams. Among the crowd, Captain Eli Roderick stood near his ship, the Starfire, checking its engines. The sleek craft gleamed under the port lights, its hull polished to a mirror shine. Eli was a skilled pilot, known across the sector for his daring maneuvers and quick thinking. Yet even he felt the subtle tension in the air that day. Aurora Prime was usually just another stop on his long route through human colonies. But today something was different. Eli's instincts, sharpened by years of navigating dangerous routes, warned him that someone unusual had entered the port, that someone was Lyria. She moved with quiet grace through the crowd, tall and elegant, her features almost too perfect, yet her eyes carried a spark that betrayed a sharp mind. To the casual observer, she might have seemed like any other traveler, but Eli noticed her subtle confidence, the way her head turned slightly at every movement, scanning for threats. He didn't know why, but he knew she wasn't ordinary. He had just finished his engine checks when a sudden commotion drew his attention. Shouts echoed from the nearby corridor, followed by the unmistakable sound of blaster fire. Eli's instincts kicked in. He darted forward, his long legs covering ground faster than most humans could manage. Lyria was cornered by two figures, their uniforms strange and foreign. Eli didn't hesitate. He raised his blaster and fired, careful and precise. One of the attackers went down, clutching his arm and collapsing to the ground. The other hesitated, shocked, giving Eli the moment he needed to tackle him to the side. Lyria looked at him, her eyes wide with surprise and a flicker of gratitude. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice smooth and calm despite the danger. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come." Eli nodded, brushing dust from his jacket. "You need to move now." He didn't ask questions. Survival came first. Together, they sprinted toward the starfire. Eli's mind raced. Something about her didn't fit. Travelers weren't usually attacked like this, not without reason. And whoever targeted her, they were professionals. He could feel it in the way they moved, cold, fast, and deadly. Once aboard his ship, Eli secured the doors and initiated the launch sequence. The starfire,